of Nate at 8. We are tracking, thankfully, some quiet weather tonight and tomorrow before it does become more active for the latter part of this week. And I think the overall concerns are there for both flooding and severe weather. But I do think the potential for flooding is going to be greater than the potential for severe weather, but certainly keeping a close eye on both going into the latter part of this week. We're dealing with rain chances every single day starting Wednesday, continuing through the weekend. So we got a lot of rain coming our way to map out. So without further ado, let's jump into things, shall we? Thanks again so much for joining me for this edition of Nate at 8 on this Monday evening. Coming up, the good news, sunshine returns Tuesday. That's certainly going to be nice to see. Again, soak up that sunshine while you can. It leaves us, and we're dealing with a dreary and wet stretch of weather Wednesday through the weekend. And yes, unfortunately, flooding and severe thunderstorms are possible. We're going to dive into the days to watch for that potential for severe weather, as the days, again, to watch for that potential for flooding as well. We're going to be tracking both of those here over the next several days. But here near term, thankfully, we are impact free. Our current temperatures are falling from the 50s and the 40s. We are turning chilly this evening. We are turning cold overnight. Our temperatures will likely be falling all the way closer to freezing by tomorrow morning. The showers have come to an end. Now we're going to start to see some clearing in our skies overnight, but still maintaining a lot of cloud cover in place, where we'll spot more clearing likely by the time we get into tomorrow. And that's when sunshine will be breaking out into the latter part of the day. But what to know for tonight is that it does likely remain dry, as we notice our temperatures drop again, likely towards that freezing mark. Notice the clouds then breaking apart for your Tuesday. It's certainly from cold to cool. Temperatures only make it just into the 50s, likely into Tuesday afternoon, despite a lot of sunshine in place. And we do have a bit of a breeze present, not a real gusty wind overnight, but wind gusts still upwards about 20 miles per hour. So you see that slight breeze carry over to tomorrow morning, and I feel like it's in the 20s to start out the day. Wind chills will start to become less of a factor by the afternoon once our temperatures do manage to reach just into the 50s, and not a real breeze tomorrow either. Winds sustain around 5-10 miles per hour going throughout the day on Tuesday. By Tuesday night, while we get some clearing during the day, more clouds spill back into the area. That increase in cloud cover is out ahead of our next chance for some showers and thunderstorms. We're going to be watching for that chance returning by the time we do get into the afternoon. You notice temperatures are picking up quite a bit going into Wednesday afternoon, likely going to be topping off into the 70s. You can see Futurecast already hinting at a couple showers there developing around central Ohio into the latter part of Wednesday afternoon. So again, the latter part of Wednesday is where we're going to be watching for that potential for more showers, and yes, even some thunderstorms returning into Wednesday night, before transitioning likely to even more of a steady rain going into the day on Thursday. So we look at that rain outlook again, dry for your Tuesday. By Wednesday, in the latter part of the day, is we're going to be watching for some showers and potentially some thunderstorms, transitioning to more of a steady rain Wednesday night into Thursday. Likely not a complete steady rain throughout the day, but certainly it's occasional likely on Thursday. And we'll be dealing with the potential for some more thunderstorms during the day Thursday as well, in addition to some periods of rain. By Friday, it's mainly morning. So the next dry period after tomorrow into Wednesday morning will be Friday, likely by around Friday afternoon, continuing into Friday night. But it's a short dry period, because by the time we get into Saturday morning, more rain has moved back into the area. So there's not too many dry times to be had. Certainly the driest part of this week is what we have coming up our way tonight going through Wednesday morning. But after that point, again, not too many dry times to be had going through the weekend, starting off with more rain Saturday. That, again, looks occasional. By Sunday, still dealing with some showers before we can start to finally trend drier next week. But at least looking through this weekend, it's a wet stretch of weather. Now, like I mentioned, we have the potential for both severe weather and flooding coming our way. And we'll start off looking at the potential for severe weather. And the severe weather outlook for your Wednesday, you can see the core of that risk with the enhanced and slight. That's a level 2 and level 3. Those are higher risks. They are centered towards our west. We are under the level 1, meaning the threat remains more isolated and short-lived, limited intensity. That's what we're going to be looking for in our area, as likely going to see the core of that severe risk towards our west. But nonetheless, we're going to have to watch any of these thunderstorms that are holding together, making their way into our area can be still severe, and we're going to be watching for that potential. Likely all threats remain on the table again Wednesday. Again, hopefully it does play out like we had last night, where a lot of this just dissipates or falls apart by the time it reaches us. But that is something we'll have to watch for later on to the day Wednesday. If these do, manage to form, especially by the afternoon, is they can roll in a bit earlier into the evening hours on Wednesday with respect to the late timing that we had last night, the early arrival time, meaning that they can have better odds to keep up their strength. So that is something we're going to be keeping a close eye on going into the latter part of Wednesday and even into Thursday as well. We have that potential. You can see the large area outlined with a potential for severe thunderstorms extending from here around, here in the Ohio Valley all the way down towards Dallas, Texas. So a large area where that severe weather potential is unfortunately there again on Thursday as well. So we have to watch Wednesday as well as Thursday for the potential for severe thunderstorm for both of those days. And again, likely going to be dealing with all the threats on the table, at least going into Wednesday night, where, yes, tornado can't be ruled out in addition to large hail, as well as dealing with some high winds in addition to that as well. Now, what I think is going to be the bigger concern is that potential for flooding that we have coming our way. Yes, I think that flooding can end up being a higher concern going through the weekend than the severe weather. Both obviously going to be taken very seriously. We're keeping an eye on both, but I worry a little more so with the potential for some excessive rainfall. And much like the severe risk, the excessive rainfall risk on Wednesday is likely centered more towards our west. But as more of that rain arrives into Wednesday night and continues into Thursday, that's a risk will then shift further towards the east. And we are not only under that marginal, but we're even under a slight risk for excessive rainfall. So that's where that threat for rainfall starts to become isolated to more scattered. So we're starting to see a little more instances of flooding, if you will, are possible in our area going throughout the day on Thursday. So this is not just an isolated instance. This is where we could be dealing with at least a few instances of flooding going throughout the day on Thursday, as we could be dealing with some rounds of heavy rain coming our way. And when it's all said and done, we're just not talking about Wednesday and Thursday, but I'm talking about through the weekend. So Wednesday through Sunday, there is potential that we are piling up inches of rain. That's right, inches of rain. Now, I do think some of these models are pretty inflated in terms of the rainfall amounts. European model even showing over 5 inches of rain. I think it can be inflated to some degree, but still likely good odds to pick upwards of at least a couple inches of rain. That's a lot of rain coming our way. Again, these 4-inch plus measure a model output, 4-inch plus measurement output of the models could very well be inflated. It could very well be too high, but still, these models hinting at a good chance for at least a couple inches coming our way, and that's going to be quite a bit of rain as we go through the weekend. Now, if this was, end up to come to fruition, where we are dealing with around 4+ inches of rain through the weekend, then the flooding concerns not only extend from, localized areas here into the region, but when we're dealing with that on a widespread scale, that's when we start to deal with concerns along the Ohio River as well. So that is something we're going to keep a close eye on. If this does come to fruition, where we're piling up, 4+ inches of rain across the region going through the weekend, then yes, the flooding along the Ohio River may become an issue early on into next week. So, we're not taking this lightly, and we're keeping a very close eye on this, and it's certainly going to be watching this closely as we go through the weekend. Not only the severe threat Wednesday and Thursday, but like I mentioned, the flooding concerns as well, which even though the flooding concerns likely start to drop off some Friday, as again, the latter part of Friday's dry, I would suspect the flooding concerns can arise again going into the weekend. And those amounts as a whole, then by the time we get into early next week, there's always that latency behind the water levels in the Ohio River rising. Once that rain starts to, finally taper off, the water levels will continue to rise. And that with that latency, that's why I say more going into early next week is when we're going to be keeping a close eye on it, as, it can start to rise steadily going throughout the week, but we're going to be watching that certainly closely going into next week along the Ohio River. Again, hopefully those are, and I think there's a good chance that the what we're seeing, these model output of 4+ inches of rain, could very well be quite inflated, and the actual reality could very well be, while still a lot, closer to 1-2 inches of rain. Again, still going to be quite a bit, but if we can keep it closer to 2 inches and less, then the risk for flooding along the Ohio River should be less. certainly still going to rise, but we're trying to avoid what we had just a year ago. It's been right around a year ago at this point, going into April, of what we dealt with the flooding last year, where we dealt with it not 1 but 2 weeks. So that's what we're trying to avoid this time around as well, but certainly not taking it lightly, and we're going to keep a close eye on it. Terry's joining us this evening. I was hoping for good news when I turned in. What a bummer. Yeah, unfortunately. At least we got the good news for tomorrow, right? The sunshine breaking back out, and before the more cloud cover spills back in on Wednesday. And yeah, it's wet and dreary. I know, Terry. Less than ideal, that's for sure. Renee says, need more sunshine. I agree. We're going to soak up the sun while we can tomorrow. It's going to be so nice to see it, but so sad to see it go, isn't it? And Lola says, April showers bring May flowers. Yes, indeed. Lots of May flowers to be had from that rain, I'm sure, going throughout this coming week. In terms of our temperatures, we didn't quite touch on yet. After a cool day tomorrow, where we are back below normal for a high, not by much, but we are back below normal Tuesday afternoon, with highs sitting closer to 50, the normal high starting to climb in the upper 50s this time of the year. We're back above normal by Wednesday into Thursday with temperatures in the 70s. Then we'll likely cool in the 60s for high Friday into Saturday. Maybe 50s Sunday. It'll be close. We're right around 60 degrees, and then a further drop off anticipated early next week. We get a series of some chilly days at that point. And yes, thankfully, as you can see next week, that we are going to be dealing with some quieter weather, thankfully, ahead next week, after dealing with a more active pattern here going through the weekend after tomorrow, right? Wednesday through the weekend. It's quite an active pattern. So thankfully, good to see some more of that sunshine returning with a quieter stretch of weather into next week. So certainly going to be looking forward to that as after we keep a very close eye on flooding and severe weather concerns over the next several days. And Sarah's saying, save some of that rain for the summer months, for the gardens through the weekend. Yeah, we're getting quite a bit coming our way here near term. But yeah, certainly don't want to get too much of it at once, and that's what we're going to be keeping a close eye on. No flood watch yet. I know Tyler County's under a flood watch. The National Weather Service office in Pittsburgh has not issued one yet, but I do know in Wilmington and Charleston. So Tyler County's under Charleston. There's a flood watch in effect south of us and west of us. Pittsburgh may very well follow and issue a flood watch tomorrow. We'll see. But of course, we'll keep you updated if a flood watch were to go into effect. Keep in mind when it comes to watches and warnings, just like what we had last night, there's some confusion sometimes between the differences. Keep in mind the watch just means that when that's issued, it just means it's time to take preparations, right? It's time to make sure you have a plan in place in case a warning is issued. It's not an imminent threat when a watch is issued. It just means that the conditions are there where a warning may have to be issued, right? It is possible. A warning is possible. And that's what the whole intent of the watch is to be, once that watch is issued, it's to watch out, right? It's to watch out, be prepared to take action in case a warning were to be issued. And just like what we had last night with the severe thunderstorm watch, it didn't pan out. We had one severe thunderstorm warning, but the storms really weakened as they move into the area. But again, the whole point of that severe thunderstorm watch or tornado watch at that point, is to be prepared keep the weather aware and know that, yes, a warning, whether it's to be a severe thunderstorm or tornado warning, is possible, right? And just be prepared to take action when the warning is issued. And that's going to be the same common theme with if we were to get a flood watch issued, be prepared to take action in case of flood warning, right? Then the warning means the threat is imminent, it's occurring, or it's going to occur shortly. That's the difference between the watch and the warning. Terry says, I wish you were trying to April Fool's us and it was actually going to be 70 tomorrow. I wish, Terry. It was 70 and nice. 70 and sunshine. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Unfortunately, not quite lining up. Our 70s will eventually return, and not too far, right? Just a couple of days away, but it will be met with more clouds and more rain. At least the first half of Wednesday's dry, and maybe we could even hold that rain off until the evening. We'll see. So Wednesday's certainly not a real wet day. We at least get that first half of the day dry with the temperatures starting to pick up. So I guess it's not too bad to see those temperatures in the 70s Wednesday. It's not too bad of a day, but yeah, certainly would be nice to deal with that tomorrow, wouldn't it? 70s with lots of sunshine in the afternoon. That would certainly be nice for Tuesday. No doubt about it. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate it as always. You can catch me coming up News 9 at 10 on Fox 9, News 9 tonight at 11. Of course, we'll be right back here tomorrow evening with the next edition of Nate at 8. At that point, we'll take a deeper dive into that severe threat coming our way Wednesday into Thursday. I'll have the latest on flooding concerns, of course, as well later on this week. So make sure to stay tuned for the latest. A good week to keep weather aware. That's for sure. A good week to stay tuned to the forecast as we extend into this weekend. That is for sure. All right, everyone. Have a great night. I'll see you on the next edition of Nate at 8.